Welcome to Learning Unity with the 3D Game Kit. We have gone through a whole bunch of settings. We built out this robust level. We've added in a lot of really cool features. What I want to teach you guys to do now is go from one level to another. So at this point, your first level is probably getting a little bit cramped and you're wondering, hey, can I make this into a game? Can I make multiple levels? And the answer is yes. So what we need to do is set up some sort of a destination. So let's add a visual cue. I'm going to use my teleporter I set up in the last video to cheat a little bit here. Let's go into environment, structures, and we'll go ahead and use the same gateway teleporter here. We'd probably want to have some way to indicate a teleporter versus a level jump, by the way. So just be mindful of that. For me, I'm going to just use this teleporter here. And maybe bring it forward. I could make that look like a building or something, but for now, that should work. Now, we're going to need to do a couple things here to make this work. We're going to have to discuss builds and how they work, and we're also going to have to discuss the controls for this, levels in general. So let's start out setting up our controls in here so we have the base idea that we need to go to another level, to another scene. We're going to need two prefabs. We're going to need a transition start and a transition destination. So let's go ahead and take a look at those in terms of our transitions here. We can come into our prefabs, and underneath our scene control, we have these tools. So we have a transition destination and we have a transition start. So if we set up the transition destination, we could bring that into a new scene. So let's go ahead and create a new scene. I'm going to save, and we're just going to open new scene, and we're going to open a new template scene. So let's go into our assets, 3D Game Kit, and under scenes, grab a new template scene and hit open. So this is going to be our new level. And I'm going to grab in the destination here and just place this into the scene. So this is essentially going to be where the player spawns in. We're going to set this to an orange tag here, just put destination 1. And as a matter of fact, I might even place it right over where she's at now. Now we need to save this scene as a new scene. We're going to do a file save scene as, and we can put it right in with my other scene here. The first one was sandbox. We're just going to make this sandbox 2 and save. So this is where we want to go, right? So with the transition destination, we can set some tags. So if you come in here, we take a look at this, you can see the destination tag set to A. That should be fine. The letter doesn't matter as long as it's the only scene with the letter. And then we need to drag Ellen into the transition game object slot. So you'll see that there's an object slot. We're going to grab Ellen, put her right inside of there, because she is who we are going to be moving. And then we need to add the transition scenes into the editor's build settings. If we go into File and Build Settings, this is going to be where we find these. So let's come up here to File, Build Settings, and let's take a look at what's going on here. You can see that we have a 3D Game Kit start, level 1, level 2, template scene, all these things. What I am going to do is actually uncheck these. I don't want to ruin the structure of the 3D Game Kit in case we want to come back to this. But what I can do is click Add Open Scenes, and you'll see that's going to add this into here. Now, what a build is what the final game is. It's the final code and everything brought together. So we need to add in the individual levels that we're going to have here. And once it is added in, it is now part of the build. Okay? So that is going to give us scene 2 to go into. Now, you might want to write down some of this information as well. For example, if I go back under File, Build Settings, I am going to grab some sort of piece of paper and just write this down. So this one is going to be scenes/sandbox2. So I have that written down for when I hop back to the next scene. Now, let's save the scene. Now that we have it set up, we have this little connection information in here, and we'll go back and open our main scene, which is going to be our sandbox scene here. And inside of here, we're going to use a transition start. So let's go ahead and create our start point. So let's look for transition start. We're going to put that over here. and you'll see it is a collider box. It has a box collider with an is trigger, so we can go ahead and just scale that to kind of fit our door area here. And you can kind of see how speed runs are done through glitching when you see how quickly and roughly we're placing these things in here. Now, this is very similar, right? When we take a look at this, we have this set up. So what we need to do is we need to create the scene we want to send it to and what we're sending. So you can see the transition game object, as you can guess, we're going to pipe Ellen into that. Transition type, you can see different zone, different non-gameplay zone, same scene. So we could use this to teleport, but we're going to do a different zone. And we're going to select the scene name here, and you'll see Sandbox 2 is the option. And then we want the transition tag to be A. Transition when, on trigger enter is what we want, and that should be good. Requires inventory check, would check if it needs any items. We need to add this zone to the build though. So I'm going to come back up here to File, Build Settings, and we're going to add open scenes, and that will bring this into here. And then we can save, and that should bring this into the level. So let's see if this works. If we hit play, we should be able to walk into that and load into our new level. All right, so we have our sandbox. We built all our cool stuff in. We're going to go use our cheat teleport that we set up last time. And then we're going to see if we can load into a new level. And there you go. We are now in level 2. Awesome. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is kind of how the builds work and editing the builds. So I'm going to come into the build settings here, and I actually need to change the order of these, which is kind of unfortunate, but you can click and drag. And what the build is going to do is it's going to build a game, and it's going to execute from top to bottom with anything that is activated. And this will be an external file that you could send to friends, family, whoever. You can even post on websites to play, or upload to Steam if you get that far. Now, we would want to probably link in the start scene to here. We'd want to look at how the start scene is set up and see if we could link it into our first sandbox and into the second. For the sake of things, let's take a look and see if we could do that. Let's save the scene since we have that set up and working, and just see if we can figure that out in the main scene. So let's go to 3D Game Kit, Scenes, and Start. Open that up. And we haven't really dug into UI, so I don't know if we're really going to be able to figure that out too easily. You can see here's a transition start, here's a transition destination. New scene, you can see it's going to level 1. We could simply send that to Sandbox, and then in theory this should work. I think Sandbox was tagged with A. I don't know. But in theory, if we come in here now and we go into our build settings, we could try this by enabling that. So we'll just go to build settings, we'll enable start, and we can test it in here before we click build. We can hit play and just see what happens. So if that is the only thing we had to switch on, this should take us into our own level. If it doesn't, this is going to probably load infinitely and crash. And it looks like it did, but notice it took us to a different start location. So that gameplay start, we might have to move if we want it to be the launch of our game. But let's see if we successfully set up our levels. I once again apologize if I'm raising my voice. I have the game volume going and probably should disable it. But let's see if it takes us to our new sandbox level. And it does. All right, cool. So we've created a proper sequence. We can start with the menu. We can keep this in the build. Let's go ahead and open up our level, though, and see if we can't get it to drop into the right location. I'm actually not opposed to it not dropping into the right location, simply because it does drop right into the what is this place. But just for the sake of things, we could look for that. And if you remember, it was that spawn point here, this checkpoint here. That was where it was loading us. So if I move this out here, in theory, that should drop us into this area, into where we are wanting to spawn. Okay, so let's save. Let's go back to the entry scene, see if that all works, and then we'll take a look at creating build of this, and then hopefully have something that we can play around with. So Let's see. My projects, assets, 3D game kits, scenes, and we're going to use the same start scene until we can build our own. Oh, yep. I have it all set up to look pretty in that background, so might as well keep it. All right, let's click start, and we're just checking where it loads in. See if it's in the right spot. No, it's not. Okay. No big deal. We could play around with that. You know, if you play around, you can find where the start is in the level. I don't know if I want to go on a witch hunt right now to try and find it. But let's see. We already know it's probably a scene transition, right? So transition destination. Okay, there it is. I just was off one click. Okay, there we go. We can just move that over there. And now that we understand that that's the destination, I bet that is what it's going to be. I don't quite know why the spawn point was right there, the default spawn point, or maybe that wasn't even a default spawn point. I'm not sure. Make sure you save after making an edit. That may have also been the issue. Maybe I didn't save and I did move the right thing. But let's just try that one more time and see if we got it right this time. All right. Moment of truth. And click start. There we go. Awesome. All right, so we can confirm everything is working. So let's go ahead and talk about creating a build real quick and wrap up our first game level project here. If you come under the option for build settings, you can take a look at these, read up on these, understand them better than what I'm going over here. But you can see the platform here is Windows, 64-bit, all that looks good. I don't think there's anything here that we need to change. If you click player settings, there are some things you can toggle inside of player settings. I'm trying to remember. I think you can add like an exit button. You can see there's resolution presets here. You can see full screen window. You can do exclusive full screen. There's some things that you can do. Resizable window, for example. All this stuff you can kind of play around with and figure out. We don't need any of that. What we're going to do is we're going to check this option to build, and what that will do is it'll actually build a playable file. So I'm going to click this. It's going to ask us for a location. I don't want to put it in the project. I'm going to come out of here into the main folder and just right click and create sandbox build. Then click into here, select folder, and it will go ahead and build out our game. Now, this is going to take a bit. It is compiling all the files, all the information we put together inside of this level, and it's turning it into an executable file that you could give to your friends, your family, you give to me, you could publish on a website and make an actual playable game for a Windows platform. So give this a bit of time, and once it's done, we should be able to give our game a playthrough. So I'm going to let this run. All right, so it took probably around an hour for that to build, which is quite a bit for such a small game. But if we go into the sandbox build, you'll see that you have a bunch of folders here, and these are going to be what launches your game. Now, if you want to send this to friends, family, or post it, to something like Steam, you're going to need to learn a lot more before you go to Steam, but you can share this with them, and they need the whole folder, so send it as a zip. And this here, whatever you named your file, mine was named My Project, is going to be your launch file. So if we double click that, this will actually launch your game. And you can go through, you can play it, you can send it to someone else to play, and you can finally experience all your hard work come together. So you can see it's launched in here. We'll get to screen, we can click start, has all the awesome sound effects the kit comes with. And there we go. Now I am playing my level full screen. We can double check our mechanics are working. Try out our cheat teleport and see if our second level loads. And there you have it. Now I'm going to hit exit and quit. just to confirm it works, and that's going to wrap things up. So that's going to complete things for the first series of this course. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Unity Game Kit and you have enough tools under your belt to create an interesting level. I'm going to do a part 2 to this course where I'm going to discuss game art and kind of bringing in some of our assets and looking at some of the tools Unity has built in. So stay tuned for that, but I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you like and subscribe for future content.